Another live video for you here. Narcissists are dependent on your reaction. This is really the nature of a narcissist. Because as we all know, narcissists need supply. They need to get a response out of people so that they can fuel themselves and regulate their emotions, and it feeds their ego. It boosts their sense of self-importance. They exist. They want to feel like they're alive. Because as we know, this character that you see, this image, what they display to people, it isn't real. It's nothing but a figment of their imagination, which they have pulled out of their minds and brought it into reality, where they expect people like you and me to believe in it and to validate it and to treat it as though it is real. And yes, in the beginning, it can be very believable. You may think that it is real because the love bombing can be very intense. They can be very charming and charismatic people. But they're never fully invested in you or anyone or anything. They can't be, because it is just an act. And they know that at some point you're going to figure that out. They know that you're going to figure out that they're not real, that it is just a fabrication. And that is why when you deal with these types of people, they've always got one foot out the door. There's one foot in, one foot out. They're always in the shallow end. They're never in the deep end with you. Because they know that the more they invest, the higher the risk that you may figure them out. But if they can keep that mask on, and they only reveal little bits of themselves, then they can create the illusion. Because that illusion is created by them not putting all of their cards on the table. If you could see their full hand, you would know exactly what you're dealing with, right from the beginning. But of course, they have to withhold certain bits of themselves so that they can get a response out of you, so that they can get your attention, validation, and admiration. That's how they do it. Because if you knew everything about them, you would then know that they're not deserving of that in the first place. But this is what makes you invest in them, by not knowing the full story. Because if you knew everything, you would probably leave them alone. But of course, as time goes by, you do start to figure these people out. You start to figure out what you're dealing with. And that is when you see the mask come all the way off. That is when you see what you're actually involved in. And that is when they find another way to get supply. They still have a use for you, even though you're not validating the false self, even though you don't buy into the illusion, Because now they can just start arguments out of nothing. They can insult you and put you down. They start nitpicking, fault finding. Now everything is wrong with you. You can't do anything right. Because if you were to do anything right, that would mean that they were wrong. They have a black and white mentality where everything is either good or bad, right or wrong. And for them to be right, for them to be good, you have to be bad and wrong. And that is how they get supply, even when you're not validating their false self. They just constantly pull you down. They make you feel like you're nothing. Because that's just how it is with these narcissists. You either validate the false self or you're nothing. And at that point, everything they do, every negative thing they do, is just designed to get a reaction out of you. That emotional response. They want to see the pain in your eyes. They want to see you going through it. Because then that tells them they do exist. They are something. Because if they weren't, then why are you like that? Why are you angry? Why are you upset? Why are you experiencing all of these different emotions if they're nothing? If they're insignificant, if they don't exist? That's what's going through their minds when they do these things to you. Because all of these abusive actions, it demonstrates to the narcissist that they must exist. They must be something important to someone. If you're getting all emotional, you're getting wound up, that tells them that they are important. They are powerful. And they don't really care why you're having these emotional responses. They don't really care why you're laying on your bed, crying yourself to sleep. They don't really care why you're trying to attempt suicide, why you're giving up on everything in your life. They don't really care about the reasons behind that unless they can use it as part of their manipulation to further bring you down. But other than that, it's really quite irrelevant because they don't care about truth or facts. All they really care about is whatever you're thinking, whatever you believe. Like they could have tricked you into believing something, and it may not even be true. But if you think it's true, they will use it against you. Because all of these things, truth, facts, these things are irrelevant in the narcissist world. It doesn't matter. All that matters is your reaction, your emotional response. That is the most important thing for a narcissist. There's nothing more important than that. And this is clearly evident from how their entire lives revolve around getting reactions, whether it's from you or someone else. Their entire lives are all about getting supply. And they don't mind cutting corners. They don't mind pretending like there's something they're not. As long as people believe it, that's all that matters. The most important thing is people's beliefs. Do you believe in them? Do you validate the false self? Do you buy into the illusion? That's the most important thing to a narcissist, is the belief. And when they get reactions out of you, that says to them, you do believe. Because if you didn't believe, you wouldn't be reacting that way. You see, they understand how it works with your beliefs and your emotions when you're responding to certain things, and they see that there's emotion behind it. That says to them that it's something important to you. And if it's important to you, automatically it becomes important to them, because then they can use it as a weapon against you. And that's just how it is with these narcissists. When you first meet them, all of their qualities and abilities, everything they possess is an act of love. It's to lure you in so that they can secure you and use you for their own purpose. But then, once you stop validating the false self, you no longer support the illusion. Now those very same things, those same qualities and abilities are now weapons against you. Now those same things are used to bring you down. And it's used to make you feel like you're the wrong person, as though you're bad. Just as everything they claim to like about you in the beginning soon becomes the very things that they hate. Everything that they professed that you need to be, you need to correct. When you actually do that, that's when you will see the real problem. That's when you will realize that all along there was no problem at all. Because in fact, the narcissist needs these problems. They need you to be feeling like you're not enough. That's very important to the narcissist. Which is why the very things that brought them to you in the first place are soon the very things that they hate about you. The very things that are bad. Because they already know if these things really are good, and you have all of these good qualities and abilities and achievements, what does that say about them? it says that there's something wrong with them. If they got with you because of all of these things that they like, then the question is, what's the problem? How can there be any problem with you if there's all of these good things, which is what lured them to you in the first place? Then it doesn't add up. So they have to bring those things down. They have to act like it's not important or relevant, because then they can continue to support this narrative that everything is wrong with you and not with them. Remember, your belief is very powerful and it's very important to the narcissist. So the last thing they want is for you to start thinking that you're okay. Which is why the very things that make you who you are, the very things that make you a good person, they have to go against that. They have to be indifferent to it, because then that gives them the power to control you like a puppet on a string. Because when you truly know your worth, you know everything that's good about you, you know the very things that they initially admired and desired. When you know that, that gives you the power. It's very difficult to control someone who knows who they are. Someone who knows what makes them a valuable person. It's very difficult to control someone like that. So they gradually work to target your self-esteem, to make you think you're not as good as you actually are, because that's how they control you. And when they can do that, it's like pushing a button. It's that easy for them to get reactions out of you. Once they've done all the work on you, and they've primed and conditioned you to be a certain way, once they've done that, it's very easy. But it all starts with your self-esteem. Because if they couldn't bring your self-esteem down, you never would have been with them in the first place. You would have walked away at the first opportunity, because you would have known straight away, I'm better than that. So it is important to identify that. The reason why you stayed is because they were able to target your self-esteem, which is something that many of you need to work on. You need to start realizing just how great you are. Because these narcissists prefer to target great people. So clearly they could see your worth when they targeted you. And now you need to see that. Because your self-love is your greatest defense against these types of people, which is something that they're fully aware of, which is why when they get around you, that's one of the first things they have to target. They have to bring that down, because they know that is going to be the greatest opposition to them having an influence over you, to them being able to control you. When you truly love yourself, you validate yourself, you have high self-esteem, these narcissists will be running for the hills. They're not going to want anything to do with you after that. Because then they know that you do know your worth. And that is a narcissist's worst nightmare. Thank you for the donation, Donovan Morrison. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I don't want to speak too long on this. I think I've given enough food for thought here on this topic. I hope this video resonated with you. If it did, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, I will talk to you in another video very soon.